Okay, we're on part 3 and we're continuing with quadratics. So given the axis of symmetry, find a symmetric point on the parabola. Okay, so if I say the axis of symmetry is x equals -4, and if I say that one ordered pair is -8, 11, you need to find the symmetric point. So my suggestion to you is to start graphing this. So if we have an axis of symmetry at x equals -4, that means out here to the left in the second and third quadrants, we have a vertical line at x equals -4. Then I'm going to locate this point. So -8 is 4 units to the left of -4, and it's up here. So this is the ordered pair -8, 11. So the idea of the axis of symmetry is the parabola has to mirror itself over that. So if I go 4 units from this point to the axis of symmetry, I now have to go the same 4 units over here. So when I do that, I get the point 0, 11. Okay. Remember that if you take any two symmetric points, if you take the x values and if you average them, so -8 plus 0 divided by 2 is -4. That's the axis of symmetry. Okay. The next one, where did my problem go? The next question is going to be given an equation like this. You need to be able to find the vertex. Okay, so to find the vertex, step number 1 is you have to find the axis of symmetry.
Macon Sylvie, please report to the office. Macon Sylvie to the office.
So in this equation, we're going to do -b. So b is 4, so it's -4 over 2 times the a value, which is -1, so that's -2. So x equals 2 is our axis of symmetry. That means we just found half of our vertex. Our vertex point is 2, something. Okay, now to find the vertex or the y value, we're going to substitute 2 in place of the x. Now this one's tricky because we have negative sign, but then we are taking 2 and squaring it. Plus 4 times 2 plus 2. So 2 squared is 4, and then the minus sign makes it -4. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2, so we have 10 minus 4, so our vertex point is 2, 6. Okay? All right, now we are going to do this same equation, but we are going to solve using the quadratic formula. So x is equal to -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So we get our quadratic formula, and then we plug in the numbers. So -b is going to be -4. Then we do b squared. So 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times a, which is -1, times c, which is 2. All divided by 2 times -1, which is -2. Okay, now we are going to simplify. Without using our calculators, we are going to break this down. So 16 minus all of this. So 4 times -1 times 2 is going to be -8, but we are subtracting it. So it becomes 16 minus -8. So it's really 16 plus 8, which is 24. Okay, next step. We are going to break down square root of 24 into 4 times 6. Square root of 4 times square root of 6 is square root of 24. The square root of 4 is 2, so we get 2 square root of 6 divided by negative 2. Okay, now we have to divide this whole thing by negative 2, each part. So we first have to divide. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. Now we have to multiply or divide 2 square root of 6 divided by negative 2. The 2's are going to cancel, and we are just left with this. So there's our two solutions. Okay, I already went through this one at a previous time, so solve by using square roots. Okay, and the last one for this section, completing the square. Okay, we didn't go over this a ton, but it's not too tricky. So completing the square means we are going to make a perfect square box, meaning this dimension and this dimension are exactly the same. And we're going to start building our polynomial like we did before. We put the first term in this upper square. And in this case, we don't know what's down here in this box. That's the idea of completing the square. But we know that these two things have to add together to be 6x. And since we want these dimensions to be the same, we want it to be the same number. So we're going to do 3x and 3x. So you always cut this thing in half to get these two numbers. Now you start doing battleship. I know that these two things have to be x and x. And I know that up here, this has to be a 3, because 3 times x is 3x. And I know down here, this has to be a 3. So we have to figure out what is this number to make this a perfect square. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. So we just completed the square. And now we can write it in factored form. Okay, let's try another one. Let's figure out how to complete the square here. So we build our square. Put x squared here. And remember, we want to cut this in half. We want this to be 6x and 6x. So then when we do battleship, completing the square means finding this number. So 6 times 6 is 36. So if we add 36 to this problem, we now have a trinomial. And that trinomial factors into x plus 6 times the quantity of x plus 6.